Man, happy Super Sunday, brother.
Happy Super Sunday, man. How are you doing? I'm very excited. How are you
I
doing?
am too. I am too. I'm great. I just to get us started, I'm wearing the uh, the Broncos version of Peyton Manning today.
I was about to
Uh,
ask you, what's up with this Broncos jersey?
he made was a gift from Paul Folks, friend Paul Folks, and he made the haul, which no surprise there. So I thought I'd wear it. I might have a little wardrobe change before this is all over and done, because my favorite broadcaster is doing the second Super Bowl.
hmm Mr. Tony Romo. Hey, man. I hear Drew Pearson got in the Hall of Fame as well. Is that correct?
He did, and I don't know about you, but anytime I love to see the David Baker videos where he goes and knocks. Although these days it's different because of what's happening. So I
Yep.
think I think he and Jerry and Roger Staubach and maybe some of his family, of course, media. I think they were at the stadium, meeting at Cowboy Stadium, and they lie to these guys of what they're gonna do, but yeah, and then of course David Baker comes out and he's 6'9", and as soon as you see that guy, everybody starts crying. I start crying. So
Hey, man. So I got every Super Bowl every year. Well, since my mom passed, I get pretty emotional because this by far was one of her favorite holidays.
yeah,
It's technically not a holiday, but we consider it just because of the ambience we would create around it. And just to give our viewers kind of an idea what it was like, a few years ago, I'm going to take you back to memory. I got two things to talk about you really quick. This is one of them. So the Super Bowl, the Bears versus the Colts. This is the Peyton Manning where he played, and this is also the Super Bowl where the kickoff was taken back to the house,
yep,
and then this is where the halftime show was Prince. Remember that Super Bowl?
correct. And it was raining when that
So
kickoff was returned.
so we had 127 guests to this Super Bowl party.
In your first house.
Then the other one was the Arizona versus the Steelers. If I remember correctly, the Steelers won by like a tippy toe end zone catch by Haynes Ward. Is that correct? I think
It was not Ainsworth. No, you're thinking of not Ainsworth. Heinz. Anyway, it was
Haynes
not
Ward.
him. It was
Okay.
number 10. And I'm not going to come up with his name now, but it was not him. But yeah,
Okay.
it was right on the edge. He tippy toed it in. Yep.
Okay.
Ballerina catch.
Okay. So that Super Bowl, we had 110 guests over to watch it, and every year, man, we kind of toggle, between your house, my mom's house, my parents' house, and my house, and it was always great, man. I'm never gonna forget, and that's why we consider it a holiday, and it's always exciting to us. Now, the second thing I have for you here, you probably know I had to do this, but can you guys can you guys see that?
Oh yeah. Ooh, that's nice. You put it in the frame.
Uh-huh.
That's the lights out Super Bowl.
That's correct.
And weren't you in that section that went lights out?
Absolutely. I couldn't see anything, man. It was the scariest thing ever. I think
Yeah.
it was the Beyonce halftime show or something like that. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know,
One of those,
but I
but
remember that the lights went out in the
so
portion. It was in the Superdome, the Saints in New Orleans, and I just remember a section of the lights went out.
I don't know if you guys can see the face value of that ticket.
Yeah,
So obviously it's for most of us that's in our bucket list to go to the Super Bowl. This
right.
was the Super Bowl where the Ravens beat the Niners,
Yeah,
and I was out in the boonies watching it. But I can tell you, man, there's nothing. So I had the privilege to get tickets to that Super Bowl. Friend of mine, we went, and it's crazy. Maybe one day we'll have a podcast around what it's like to go to a Super Bowl, but
right,
I mean, it take me hours to describe it.
right. Yeah. Well, that's what I remember. And Mom, real quick. This was a holiday she loved because there's no pressure. We just all had a big reason, and sports does that to bring us together for food and game and fun. We had a little fantasy league along with it. So yeah, we definitely miss her, and I know her sister made a cake, which is what she always used to do for us. So, but anyway, we definitely have a great guest in honor of Super Sunday and the Super Bowl. So
Woo! I'm super excited.
I am too. I started looking at stats and different things like that. So, in honor of making Super Bowl memories on the Super Sunday for episode 30. With that, my name is Javier, and we are Problems.
And my name is Jorge, and Opportunities. Kick off our podcast, brother.
We want to thank you all who may be watching today. We thought it'd be fun to do a Super Bowl version of a live show. And in fact, if you see I set up at home, and I wanted to have the screen behind, see how that would work. But we call our podcast Problems and Opportunities, because that's what we were told when both my brother and I jumped into some different challenges a few years ago. And the purpose was that from problems, really there are opportunities that come from it, and we decided to go with that. We started last year; it's coming up on a year, and we've just had a blast doing it. We've had really, really interesting people come talk about just that, and today is no exception of that. So we want to welcome anyone who can watch this, is watching it, who's maybe firing up the grill or checking on the ribs or whatever you all are doing. We welcome you to our podcast today.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us today. And with no further ado, I mean, it is a great privilege and honor to have a former NFL great in our podcast this afternoon. I mean, excitement falls short, just like my brother was explaining, of how we really feel about Mr. Jim McClain, who is now a coach. And we're going to go, through his bio here, talk a little bit about him. But, Coach, welcome to our podcast. How you doing this afternoon, Coach?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me. Been enjoying the podcast. So looking forward to it.
Coach McClain, it's a big honor. Like I said, I mean, it's always, my brother and I are super excited to have you, especially on Super Bowl. Thank you so much for making the time to be with us today, Coach. I'm gonna go here through your bio real quick, and just to explain to our viewers, give you a little background. So Coach McClain, former NFL player, so. He was from Troy State University, which, by the way, today I'm wearing jersey. I'm just too excited. They went to the same university, and he just told us off air that they actually played together for 1 year, I believe, his freshman year. So that was from 1998 to 2001. Mr. McClain, Coach McClain, played. So he was drafted by the Houston Texans in 2002. Played there for 2002, 2003. And correct me if I'm wrong. That's the year that the Houston, they were a new franchise to the NFL. Correct, Coach?
Yes, sir. 2002 was the very first year. Brand new team out the gate. First game of the season against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football.
I absolutely remember that, because both Emmett Smith and I were very upset that they had lost against a new team. But congratulations to you, sir. I mean, I'm never going to forget that game. From there, Coach, you went to Jacksonville Jaguars in 2004. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And your official position in the NFL was linebacker. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I was a linebacker.
Perfect. All right, and then some of your accolades, it kind of gives me goosebumps to read a lot of these, but I can only imagine how you feel about it. But in 1998, you were ESPN Player of the Week. Can you give that some color, Coach? What happened? Why were you named Player of the Week?
It was when I was at Troy State. It was my sophomore season. We was playing South Florida. And it was a great game. But during that game, I took 2 interceptions back to the house for touchdowns. And those 2 touchdowns actually ended up helping us win the game. So, my name got submitted for that game. And that following Monday, I remember the coach came up and, he was just like, "Hey, what's up, ESPN?" I'm like, ESPN? What are you talking about? College kids don't watch ESPN. So, they brought everybody together. They told me, I was the first one ever from Troy State University to be named ESPN Player of the Week. So,
man, that's awesome. Honor. I can only imagine. I know how hard it is to do 1 pick six, doing 2 in a game. Man, congratulations to you. Okay, from there we go to the All NFL Europe League in 2004. You had a safety against the Ravens in December of 2002. And then you, sir, had the first block punt in Houston's Texan history against Washington. How did that feel?
Man, it felt great. But the funny part to that story, to the block punt, is it was fourth quarter. We was up in Washington playing the Redskins, and I go in full speed, and I put my hands up. I go to jump to block it, and he actually kicked me right in the face with it. So the first block punt was actually blocked by me getting kicked in the face with the ball. But I remember jumping around. I'm excited. I'm happy. I'm jumping around. Kevin Williams went and recovered it for a touchdown. And I get to the sideline, and the coach is like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Coach, I blocked it. He goes, "Yeah, but you could have had a touchdown." He goes, "That's more important." But at the time, I was excited. And years later, the first block punt, it is one of those honors that, I tell kids nobody can ever take away. It is there. It's going to be there. And like I said, I use my head. So I put my head to get use.
Yeah, that's Coach, awesome. I'm going to back up a couple of steps if you don't mind. So 2002, Houston Texans, the Oilers, the beloved Oilers, had left probably 4 or 5 years before that to Tennessee, as we know. So not only are you part of that initial, I'm going to call you a charter member of the Houston Texans football team, and then that same season you had these two incidents. But what I want to know, what I've always wanted to ask a player is, what is that like the day you find out that you're going to be at least trying out, or trying to make a NFL team? Is it in your mind now like just quick and chaotic, like you don't really remember how it happened, or is it like a slow motion movie, where you're still waiting for the call and you're waiting and waiting? What is that like?
I still remember that day. And the funny thing was, I was actually on campus because my dad was like, "You know what? You play with them. That's your family. That's your brothers. So stay on campus." So the guys had a cookout that day. And I remember just being in my dorm room, and, every time the phone rings, you jump. And so finally my agent, he was like, "Hey, the Texans want you." I'm like, "Man, really?" Like, "Hey." So once that feeling, I was like, "Okay, good." I know where I'm going. I know who want me. And I remember walking outside, and Freeman White comes up to me, and he just says, "Man, you're the first NFL player that I actually know." And it was like, wow, like that's when it really hit you, like, wait, man, NFL. So, we had a cookout, we celebrated. 2 days later, I was in Houston. So everything moved kind of fast.
Yeah.
It goes to where, you had to build up to the draft. You have that waiting process, which honestly, the waiting process is stressful because you do know if nobody take you, your career is over, just like that. So for me, I never worked out for Houston. I never did one single workout for Houston. So I was actually surprised when they called. Yeah. But, it was the stars aligning, brand new team. So they wasn't really established. So it gave me the opportunity to go in and compete. But like I said, I remember that day. I remember Freeman White. I remember the cookout. And we just celebrated. We celebrated as a team at Troy State, which Troy State's a family. To this day, we all still a family. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also, just real quick, I saw in your bio that you were born in Alabama, right?
Yes, sir. Down in Enterprise, Alabama.
So I gotta ask. In fact, I hope one of my buddies is watching. But so would it be Roll Tide or War Eagle for you?
I don't recognize that second name you said. So,
it was that easy.
Yeah. Roll Tide all day,
every day.
And when you hear stories about how football is, it's like that. In fourth grade, my fourth grade teacher, that's how she divided us. If you was for Alabama, you sat on this side. If you was for the other team, you sat on the other side. And we sat like that the entire year. So I'm Roll Tide. I'm a Trojan first. Right. I'm a Trojan first. Sure. But outside of that, I'm Roll Tide 24/7. I don't like the other team. I still say Cam Newton. I still say he should have been there because I still think he got paid. I just don't like that. I don't even like Bo Jackson and Charles Barkley. I just don't like them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was about to ask, how do you feel about Auburn?
Yeah, there's nothing about that school, about that place. Even though we did go party up there, but that's different. That's a different story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But there's nothing. My arch rival in high school went to that school, and to this day, I don't like him, and I don't like that school. So,
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And coach, I've got one more thing here on your bio. This is probably the most important one as we focus around our podcast this afternoon with problems and opportunities. I think that a lot of the viewers, and I'll include myself in there. Sometimes we don't really know what's life after football like, and so I think one of the things we want to highlight is your company, right? Be the best training company that you have. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. I do want to tell you we just received a shout out on our live stream from Elizabeth Pignon. So she's saying Josh Bejarano is watching you, sending you a big hug to Primo Jimmy McClain. So shout out to you, sir.
Yes, that's my little homie. Yes, we did a lot of work this summer. Yes, I love that little kid. Yes, future baseball star.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Great to hear. So coach, first, just kind of briefly tell us, if you could give an elevator pitch to our viewers about life in the NFL, what would that be?
Ooh, life in the NFL. Imagine everything you ever wanted. It's at your fingertips. But what people don't see is the everyday work.
Mm-hmm.
I worked out at 7:00 in the morning. I was in a group with David Card, with Jabari Gaffney. We worked out at 7:00 in the mornings. You go from workouts to position meetings to special teams meeting. You have lunch in the stadium. Then you go back for walkthroughs. You go back to more meetings. And what people don't realize, the daily work is from 7 in the morning until 4:30, 5 o'clock every day. So when you see the 3 hours on Sunday, you don't see the work that goes in between there. But I will tell you, when I was in NFL, I never got a speeding ticket. I never got a ticket. But they do cater to you. I'm not gonna lie. You don't stand in line at restaurants. You don't stand in line at certain nighttime places. Bars, clubs, whatever you may be. So you do get catered. I will say that they do take care of you, but that grind. And also what people don't see is at the time I was playing, there's only 53 on the roster.
Right.
And if you're not the star, you're constantly looking over your shoulder because there's always somebody younger, faster, stronger, and cheaper. And cheaper is probably the biggest word because if owners can save money, they're going to save money. So that daily grind of, you got to go in, you got to work your butt off, you got to know your assignments, you got to, be a professional, but you also know somebody's trying to take your job. So it is stressful on one hand, but on the other hand, like I said, it's the greatest feeling in the world. There's nothing like running out of the tunnel at Reliance Stadium when 70,000 plus people are screaming.
Right.
And coming from Troy State, where we probably averaged 20,000.
Oh, wow.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was like night and day, people going crazy, the smoke, and just knowing that all of the work you've done, it's time to put it to use. But like I say, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling. But like I say, it's a grind. It is a daily grind.
Well, and you didn't even include the time that you probably spent outside of all that time watching film or tape, as we used to call it, or as some people still call it, or looking over. I mean, we had a taste of it in high school, and football's big in Texas, but our little playbook wasn't much. But I know NFL playbooks are in the hundreds of pages.
It is the craziest thing. An NFL playbook, first off, is built like an encyclopedia. That's how thick it is. And because every single, for me, defense, if we call a defensive formation, it changes based on, okay, if the running back moves to this side, you change it. If the running back motions out, you change it. If the receiver lines up on the numbers, if this receiver line up here, like every play has easily 5 or 6 adjustments that you must know. So the amount of time you spend on your playbook is instrumental because if you don't know your plays, you're not going to get on the field. And like you mentioned, watching film, I've never seen film so broken down into detail. I mean, you get your first and long plays, your first and short plays, your second and long, your second and short, etc. So they break down every single thing, and that doesn't include the special teams. Even for special teams, you had another hour or so of just watching film. So the film is important. The playbook is important. The playbook that's your lifeline. You know, and like I said, if you don't know your playbook, you can't play. And you hear today's, commentators sometimes, so-and-so was signed because he's familiar with the offense. Mm-hmm. Oh, this person got signed because he played with the coach. It's hard learning a playbook overnight. You literally have to sit down. You have to do your homework. And it was one of the hardest things you do, but this is your life.
Right.
This is it. And the majority of athletes, sadly, don't know anything else. Like, we've never had other jobs. Mm-hmm. We were athletes. So like I said, the playbook is big, the film work, and they give you film to take home. So you don't just do it at the stadium. You actually go home. Yeah. You have to watch it at home. And what people don't realize, every NFL team on Saturday night give their players a test. They give you a written test. And if you don't pass that test, you're not getting in the game. Ooh. So every Saturday night, you have a written test to see if you know your material.
I mean, it does make sense. I think together with all the studying and game field and everything you got to do, Coach, I also probably the most important video or most important film you're going to watch is the post game. So after you play every game, because like with anything in life, playing sports, business, everything you do, it's important to look at what you've done and how you can improve. So about how many hours you spend, after any given Sunday, just watching film?
After Sunday, a lot of times you watch it at home, so you kind of, because you're gonna have that Monday meeting. If you lose, that Monday film session is not something you look forward to. Yeah. So you watch the game at home, but you go in on Monday and defense goes to their room, offense goes to their room, and before that, most teams post up their stats in the locker room. Mm-hmm. So you know how many pluses. You know how many minuses. You know how many times you was just jogging. So these things going into it. So when you go into that meeting, the eye in the sky don't lie. We say that the eye in the sky don't lie. So when you go into that meeting, there's no hiding. A story about me, one game, we were playing Tennessee Titans in Tennessee, opening kickoff. I dropped back on kickoff return and I blocked the wrong person.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and going into that meeting was brutal because it was like, you are a professional. This is your job. How did you block the wrong person? And it just so happened that was the first game that my parents got to watch in person.
Oh no!
So my parents didn't know I blocked the wrong person.
Of course not.
But it was just the nerves. You know what I mean? Like the nerves was there, and trying to explain why you blocked the wrong person. And I should explain in these meetings, it's not just coaches and players. The general managers in the meeting, all of the personnel, the scouts are in the meeting. So all of the people that decide who's on the team are sitting there like, wait, how did he block the wrong person?
Yeah.
So watching yourself after the game is the hardest thing when you know that when, your team didn't win, you probably had a bad game or a bad play because you can't hide from it. You can't. But when you win, it's a different story. When you win, you go in and everybody's happy. So even if you had a bad play, you won. So everybody's happy. But you hear a lot, especially in pro sports, especially basketball. Oh, we're gonna burn this tape. We're gonna burn this tape. I'm pretty sure the Cowboys have burned a lot of tapes.
Or been burned by a lot of tapes.
Or been burned by a lot of tapes. But you do learn more from watching yourself on tape.
Yeah.
Because you see, like, am I really running full speed? You see, am I being aggressive? You see, am I kind of hesitant, like I don't know what I'm doing? And you have to be honest with yourself. And if you're not going to be there very long. NFL is a short life.
Well, and like your sorry to interrupt, Coach, but also your technique. I've been trying to learn how to play really good golf for a while now. And everybody keeps on telling me you have to watch yourself. You got to go out there. You record yourself in the driving range, and then watch yourself hit that ball, because your technique is what's going to make you or break you. Actually, in any sport.
Yes.
So I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and to your point, I'm sorry. To your point of different people in meetings. Back to the Dallas Cowboys. If you're in the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones is likely hovering around the meeting. So I can imagine the pressure, because, or even the plane ride. I think about, on the rare occasion where a team plays in the West Coast or East Coast but has to fly back to the coast, and they lose. Oh my gosh, that 3-4 hours.
That 3-4 hours is a long flight when you lose because, again, like I said, if you're not that star player, and your head is like, hey, am I going to be here next week?
Yeah.
Am I going to be there? So, and going back, like you mentioned technique, and to me, what I wish people would realize is technique starts in youth league.
Mm-hmm.
I see so many youth leagues that are more concerned with winning than teaching. Because you got to teach them the technique in youth league, and then when they get to middle school, they expand on it. Because when you get to high school and college, you don't have a lot of time for technique.
Right.
You got to worry about learning the game plan, alignment, assignment. So I wish like the youth league would teach more technique.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people that do, and I know some people that say they do, but I'm not there, so I really don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I can tell you when I have kids come into my facility, you can tell who's been taught and who hasn't. Like you see it quickly. But technique is so important because if you don't have the right technique, if you don't know how to get in a stance, if you don't know how to read, if you don't know how to step, you're already behind the 8 ball.
Right.
You're behind. And more than likely, you're not going to make it to the NFL if you can't do those things. So.
You know what's interesting, Coach, is so I had the privilege to teach some little league, Pee Wee football here in El Paso, and man, parents and coaches alike, all we cared about was winning.
Yes.
we didn't care about no technique, just take the ball and go score a touchdown. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And you see it. I mean, like if you teach kids how to catch when they're younger, you don't see the drop passes in the NFL. Like you got to teach them how to catch.
Yeah.
And like I said, but everybody worry about winning when you learn more from losing.
Right.
You actually do learn more from losing, but I'm an Alabama fan. I'm used to winning. So
yeah. Well, you remember, to use a poker term loosely, you remember the losses way more than the wins.
That's
you just keep replaying them in your mind. I do. I still do. For anything that goes wrong, and so. I was going to tell you, when I played, our defensive coordinator back then is who taught me how to run, because, and I'm thankful because that was around my sophomore year. I had gained some strength and things like that, but I still couldn't run. So that by the beginning of the senior year, I was one of the fastest guys on the team. But it wasn't because I drank a magic pill. It was because he taught me how to run. And that's why I joined track. I ended up getting some medals in the 100, 200, but that's where it came from. Coach, we're talking about kind of transitioning, and so I was going to ask you, after NFL, then, like you said, then what? Some of us have never done anything else. Tell us about your family, and what we met you thanks to our sister Monica, because we know you're a coach, which is why we're calling you Coach at a middle school. Tell us how you ended up in El Paso and some of that history.
The way I ended up in El Paso actually has to do with Coach Melton at Americans High School. We knew each other down in Houston, and one day we was all sitting around talking, and he mentioned about applying for a job in El Paso, and there was another guy that he already said, hey, if I get this job, would you go with me? So they looked at me, hey, you want to go with us? And at first I'm like, man, you're not gonna get a job in El Paso. So they're like, hey, what's up? So you want to go with us? And I'm sitting there thinking, like, where is El Paso?
My wife is gonna like that comment.
Right, yeah. So to me, I'm from Alabama. I live in Houston. I don't know where El Paso is at. So if I don't like, man, if you get the job, let's go. I say I go for a year. So he ended up getting the job. Like, wait, what? You got the job? So we flew in one night and we saw the Americans High School. We saw the city. We really liked it. So like, you know what? I'm gonna come for a year. Well, that was in 2009, and I'm still here.
You're still there.
So that year has changed a lot. But for me, like I said, I love El Paso now. I'm still Alabama born and bred, but El Paso is my second home. I have my kids here, my beautiful kids. They're here. And one thing about me, like I said, when it comes to family, I don't really say my kids. I don't say names just because I'm one of those cautious people.
Sure.
But you know what? My kids are here. My beautiful kids are here. So El Paso's home. El Paso has a lot of beautiful people, a lot of great people.
It does.
I fell in love with the city. I've truly fallen in love with the city. And I actually said that to my brother the other day. He's like, "Ooh, I'm telling mommy and daddy that you said El Paso's home." And he literally said that to me.
Yeah.
But that's how I ended up here, Coach Melton. If it wasn't for Coach Melton at Americans High School, I wouldn't have been here at that time. I do believe, we all get to where we're supposed to be eventually. But Coach Melton, he's still here. He's the longest current coach at one school. So that's how I ended up here. Like I said, I met your sister through work. I have your nieces in my PE class. So and she's been telling me for about a year, hey, you got to do the show. You got to do the show. And your sister, she don't let up. When she has something in her head, she goes to it. But
Coach, I'm glad you said that in a live show because we tell her that all the time, but she doesn't believe us. I'm glad you said it because now she'll believe it.
Oh yeah, she texts me like 12 times the other day. You haven't accepted the link. You didn't accept the link, and I was so nervous that I was messing up. So
tell us about Be the Best Training or BTB. I hope to have that right. I know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell us about that.
The way Be the Best came about, BTB, I was coaching. I was doing high school coaching, and I always felt like I needed to do more. I wanted to do more. And the way coaching worked, if you're not the head coach, you have some input, but honestly, you don't have a lot. It's still the head coach's thing. So for me, I knew I needed to do more. I wanted to see El Paso athletes, excel. And a lot of times coaches are limited by time. They only get, I know football at one point, you get 20 hours a week. That included weight room, that included the game on Friday nights. So you don't get a lot of time. So I'm like, you know what? Let me see something else. So I started having people like, hey, you know what? Can you help my kid? Can you do this? Can you do that? So I'm like, let me just look into training. And the first kid I ever trained was a young lady named Pia. She's in middle school at Slaughter. So she was the first kid I ever trained. And the first day we started training, another young lady, she saw us, she came. So we just started working. And Be the Best came about, the name actually came about because I always tell the kids, man, you want to be the best. Like, you don't want to be second. You want to be the best. And so it got to a point where, a good friend of mine, Ernesto Campizano, he runs S3 Sports. He was doing the All-Star games last year. And he was like, hey, I want to use your logo. I want to, promote you. What are you called? I'm like, I don't know. What am I called? and some parents like, well, coach, you always tell the kids, be the best. So that's how Be the Best came about. And what we focus on, we focus on the techniques, those little things, the footwork, the agility, speed, quickness. Those are things that we focus on a lot, and it, to me, footwork, speed, agility crosses all sports. And like right now, as I'm talking to you, I'm getting a call from a quarterback. He was a freshman quarterback that started at Pebble Hills. So he's calling me right now. But I just call him back. But we focus a lot on speed, agility, footwork. We do explosive, and we also add in that mental side. Because the one thing I tell all of these kids, I've been there, I played the game. When they say, coach, I'm tired, I know what it feels like. When they say, coach, I'm hurt, I know what it feels like. So I tell people all the time, we do the physical side, but we also do the mental side. And Be the Best, to me, we're a family. Yeah. We're a family. I tell these kids, I don't make any kid. I give you tools, and it's up to you to take those tools and become something better. I can't make you. I can't do it for you.
Right.
I give you what you need to do. I'm there to motivate you. I'm there to help you, but it's up to you to take that and expand. So that's what Be the Best right now. We train all sports, boys, girls. We have a couple of 5-year-olds, all the way up to, we have a young lady that's trying to be a firefighter. We had 13 seniors this school year, and 12 of the 13 all received scholarships. That last kid, we just found out that he got 2 schools interested in him. We have a couple of young ladies that's playing for the U.S. softball. We just got a young lady. She's a boxer. She's on the USA boxing team. So we have kids, all sports, all ages. we work with everybody. If you want to develop your footwork, if you want to develop your agility, you want to get faster, those are all things that we work on. And the one thing I tell everybody is if you sign up with NFL Jim and McClain, that's who that's who you're training with. That's who you're going to train with. So you're not going to sign up thinking I'm going to go and train with NFL Jim and McClain, and then he's not even there.
Right.
I'm in the building every day. I'm leading the trainings every day. To me, like I said, you gotta get me. You gotta get the person, and we're gonna work. We're gonna have fun, but we are gonna work. And honestly, the proof is there. You know, Joel Sedano, probably the best running back in the city. You know, this kid worked his butt off. He worked his butt off the past year, and he never complained a single day. We have a young lady over at Austin High School named Alani. You know, this girl trains 4 times a week with a torn ACL.
Wow.
And she does. And she is there. She's in the front of the line. She never complains. You know, so we have, like I said, we have kids that they come in, they work, and they see the results. And that's what Be the Best is about. It crosses all things, like you and your brother, you know, be the best. You want to be the best podcast. You want to be the best as a realtor. Your sister want to be the best wife, be the best mom. Be the best crosses everything.
It sure does, and I really like that you talk the talk and walk the walk when you're there. I was looking at your Twitter feed, the last couple of days, and I saw the young lady who's a boxer, and one of the pictures that I love on there, people who are watching the handles on scrolling, but they took a picture with all her belts. I mean, there's a pile of belts right next to her. That's got to be pretty amazing, young lady to have on your team to do this.
Yes, yeah, and I actually met her through another friend of mine, a guy named Chris Medina. He called me. He was like, "Hey, I have a meeting with this young lady. Can I use your office?" Yeah, sure. Go ahead. You know, I'm gonna be there training your son anyways. But when they came out of the meeting, the young lady, and her family was just standing around watching us. And at the end, she just walks up. She's like, "Hey, I want to train with you." I'm like, "All right, hey, okay, let's go." And my first thought though was like, okay, I really don't know you, but hey, if you want to work, we can work. And I got to talk to her and the family, and her heart. She wants to be the best. She wants Boston to become known in El Paso.
Yes.
And that's how I actually met her. Like I say, it just happened to be she was there talking to somebody else. They saw what we was doing, and she's like, "Hey, I want to be a part of this." And the thing is, like I said, to me, we welcome everybody. We welcome everybody.
Yeah, Coach, and one of the things that I really like about your business and your training is the mental part of it. I think it goes without saying that the mind and your mental state has a lot to do with how well you do when you're trying to be the best. Whether it's during practice, during game time, afterward, exhaustion, illnesses, injuries, whatever it may be. Mental state is a very big part. I think it's a very big part of of sports.
It is. The one thing I would advise a lot of people on: don't push kids so hard when they're younger, because you can actually burn them out. If you're pushing them to play every sport nonstop, you'll burn them out. And you got to let kids also have a childhood. And it has to come from the kids. It can't come from the parents. To me, if you are a parent and you're trying to relive your dream through your kid, that's not healthy. It's
right.
Not. So to me, it has to come from the kids. They gotta want it. They gotta have that desire for it. And we've had sessions where we sat around and talked for 30 minutes because kids they have questions. They want to talk about stuff. And to me, the mental game. In the NFL, they say get mental reps. In other words, if you're on the sideline in practice, you should be getting mental reps. If they call out a defense or an offensive play, you should put yourself mentally into that situation.
Yeah.
Right.
And so mentally, I talk to these kids, we talk about a lot of stuff. Because like I said, if you beat them up mentally, they're not having fun. They're not going to have fun.
Yeah. Coach, I have 2 daughters, and we did sports from a very early age. We wanted to expose them to sports and also music and things like that. And we did soccer, we did volleyball, especially, we did a little basketball. And then when they both got to high school, they chose a drill team, which in my mind back then was just dance. It was the arts, and the director of that team and is a good friend of ours now, and she knows this story, so I'm not afraid of telling it. But when it happened, I was very disappointed because I was like, oh my gosh, because I would help coach and I would help do things, and I just envisioned going to varsity athletics in high school. But I tell you what, to your point about saying that you got to let kids not push them too hard and also let them be themselves. We spent 5 years and this is Lamar High School here in Arlington. We were in that drill team, a total of 5 years, but really a total of 7 years. And I cannot tell you how proud I was of what the girls did. In fact, our youngest was an officer 2 years, and between competitions and we didn't miss a Friday night game for 5 years with Lamar High School, and it's a high school to go. So to your point about because I could have stayed disappointed, but it was the greatest thing and that ever happened, and what they learned from being on the drill team, the leadership skills, it was just amazing.
Yeah, it is. And like right now, I have a 10-year-old son, and he plays sports, but the last year and a half, he hasn't played sports. He discovered video games, and to me, would I like him to play sports? Yes, but to me, he's playing video games, so just enjoy it. Be a kid right now. When he get to middle school or high school. Sports is still there. Me personally, I didn't start football until I was 9 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So he's 10, so he's not really behind.
Right.
So to me, you got to let kids be kids. And like you said, your daughters did the drill team, and that's discipline. People don't realize that's a lot of discipline.
It's military style discipline.
It is military. Even in the band, he's a band student. You know how hard it is to play and march at the same time?
That's right.
That is hard. So to me, I would say don't knock another sport, another hobby until you try it. Just because, you're not a big, tough football guy. You know what? There's other things that for kids, just be a kid. Be a kid. Find out what you love. Because, unfortunately, all kids don't love the same thing their parents love.
Yeah.
Yep, by the way, perfectly stated.
Mm-hmm. We have an esports stadium here in Arlington, just so you know, if you ever visit, and it is literally a place where great video game players. We took, in fact, the last time my brother and his family were here, we went over there. We couldn't go inside because they had an actual tournament, but it is literally a stadium for video gamers.
Wow, see, hey, my son, be the best video gamer. Hey, go ahead.
That's right.
Yeah. And I was gonna. Oh, go ahead, Coach. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say my situation with my kids. As long as you got good grades, you know what? I'm okay with video games. As long as your grades are straight A's, E's and B's, I'm okay with it.
Yep.
Well, and what I was going to say is that, and we all learned that. I think all parents have a version of, what their kids, what we thought our kids were going to be. And then once they start growing up, my son tried a few sports. Most recently, he tried tennis in high school. And now he's found his passion and love for music. We were talking a little bit about that off air. But you can tell, how much he loves it. And so, Coach, so this is actually an excellent segue to our next segment here of our conversation. I know we probably didn't give you enough time to think about this, but I want you to. So I kind of, in a strange way, I read a lot of not in a strange way, but when I come across articles, new things in sports or business, either way, I always like to, ask around what everybody thinks about it. So this one most recently. Written it was posted on USA Today by Amber Lee. She's a journalist, and so she mentioned so there seems to be a newfound controversy, and this is a controversy. So the question is, should professional sport players? So the argument is, should professional sports, or more specifically NBA and NFL players, should they be allowed or to make that decision not to make college a requirement? So in other words, go from high school straight into NBA or NFL. As we know, I don't know about the NFL, but I knew that in the NBA, like Kobe Bryant was one of them, that he didn't, he didn't go to college. He just went straight to basketball. But, there's arguments either way. It's a very interesting article. But what are your thoughts there, Coach?
Ooh, man. Several things pop up. Um, I I can't envision a 17, 18-year-old kid playing football against grown men in the NFL. That's kind of hard for me to envision that a 17, 18-year, because your body grows so much in college.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you go from a boy to a man in college. So it's hard for me to envision a 17, 18-year-old boy playing in the NFL. Basketball is a little different because you don't really worry about um, trying to tackle Shaquille O'Neal as a 17-year-old
Mm-hmm.
or trying to tackle LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, it is depending on the sport, it is different. But what I will say, I mean, jumping straight to professional, the tricky part is, what if you don't make it?
Mm-hmm.
Now you can't go back to college and play. Your eligibility is done.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, a lot of us would not have made it to college without that full scholarship. So if you make that jump to the NFL, to the NBA, and you don't make it, you're no longer an immature athlete. So that means they cannot give you that scholarship. So now it's kind of like, now what do? You don't have that professional sport. You don't have college. You're an 18-year-old kid, 19-year-old kid, and what are you going to do the rest of your life? So it's a tricky argument. Me personally, I know I wouldn't have been ready for the NFL at 17.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds crazy because I actually started as a true freshman, but that was in college.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't in the NFL. You know what I mean? So it's a tricky argument. I never want to tell somebody, hey, don't get the money, because if you can get the money, even though it's not all about money. But to me, I don't know. Education is important to me.
Yeah.
Sports is going to end. Sports will end, but your education is always going to be there.
Yeah.
So it's I can see both sides of it.
Yeah, and the arguments, for both sides. I mean, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it's exactly what you just said. I think, some of the athletes should. Well, the argument for it is that some of the athletes should be able to make their own decisions, right? And that in college, it's all risk with relatively little reward. But what I kind of read into that is that if the reward of going to college sports and maturing into the sport hasn't been sold correctly. Now, I do see a lot of future NFL athletes in college when they a lot of them opt out of bowl games. So
Right.
so if they don't make the playoffs, right, in the four team system that they have, a lot of these teams that go to the bowl games, a lot of these guys don't play in the bowl games because they don't want to risk their career. And then the argument against this is what you just mentioned, right? Most of these athletes don't possess maturity or physical levels, especially in the NFL, to play at the professional level.
I agree, especially with the physical part, because especially the last 5 years, I've spent a lot of time we go to every game, we're close to the team, and I see the kids that are going to get that D1 scholarship, and I worry, even at that level, I worry a little bit about them, because they still look to me like they need a little more mass, a little more, so they need that extra couple of years to kind of fill into what they're really going to be. And then I'm always shocked, they'll come back to the high school games, to homecoming or whatever, and they'll stand on the sideline and I'll say, what the heck happened to this kid in the last, but that's exactly what you're saying, is they need that couple of years, to come into that maturity.
Yeah, you need it. I graduated high school at 221. I got to college, I got up muscle wise to 238. And that was 6% body fat at the time. And it's funny because like we talking about it, and I don't know why last night I was watching the Usos, and I went back to look at the Usos debut and look at how small they were compared to where they are now. And that's wrestling, So, and DeMarcus Ware is the greatest example. When DeMarcus Ware got to Troy State, he was skinny. This man was like telephone skinny, telephone pole skinny. So DeMarcus Ware was just a tall, skinny young man.
Yeah.
But he developed his body over those 5 years. And then he also developed even more in the NFL. And, DeMarcus Ware is one of the greatest, DN linebackers ever. But if you saw freshman DeMarcus Ware, his body was not made for the NFL.
Right.
Wow. I can't believe that. Yeah.
Right. And I'm pretty sure, like, knowing DeMarcus, he will agree with you 100% of the time on that. Like I said, even myself, I was not developed for the NFL. But you also got to look at the flip side. NBA teams only have 15 people on the roster. If all of these high school kids start jumping to the NBA, along with these college kids, there's a lot of people losing their jobs now.
Right.
There's a lot of people. And for every Kobe Bryant and LeBron James, there's some that don't make it. And you see especially NBA, a lot of guys leave early to go into the draft, and then they don't get drafted. So if college kids are getting bad advice, could you imagine the advice the high school kids would get? So sometimes you get that bad advice, and if you don't make it, they're not going to make it.
Yep.
So like I said, it's a double-edged sword. To me, I just think education is important. You can't beat education, a good education.
That's right. That's for the rest of your life, regardless of how long your professional sports career is. Coach, being mindful of time, because I know we're getting a lot closer to kickoff. One last question. Well, a couple. I want to ask you about your clothing line. I couldn't, and if you have something we can scroll on the banner or post later, we'd be happy to. And then also, if you're willing to, I'd love to know your prediction for today. But tell us about your clothing line.
Okay. Yeah, my clothing line, BTB, Be the Best. For the past year, we were partners with Big Frogs, but that was only for a year. We had a microsite up for a year. Now we're actually going in a different direction, and we actually got new apparel that will be coming out soon. We've been getting a lot of tips and advice. The one thing I had a hard time with was female clothing. I didn't know what females wore. I'm an athlete. Normally, I'm dressed like an athlete. So the female line is something that we've really put more time into. And so we're coming out with leggings and joggers and other type female clothing wear. But the new site should be up, I want to say, by the end of February.
Okay.
But yeah, we're coming out with new material, new gear. Last year, we kind of just stuck to the logo. The logo on the front, Be the Best on the side. But now we have certain sayings that we use a lot that we're going to start adding to the shirts, to the hoodies. So it's going to be bigger, bigger and better. And then as far as tonight, I've been saying this from day one. Tampa Bay is hosting the Super Bowl. Tom Brady's in Tampa Bay. For whatever reason, love him or hate him, you can say he deflate. You can say the tuck rule. You can say Spygate against the Jets. You can say whatever you want to say. Tom Brady finds a way to win.
Yeah.
My prediction is Tampa Bay wins. I don't know the score. Tampa Bay wins. Tom Brady's named the MVP. Tom Brady goes out on top like Peyton Manning and John Elway. That's my prediction, and I'm sticking to it. Tampa Bay,
nice.
Super Bowl. Yep.
Love it. And they might put him in if he announces a retirement after this, they might put him in the Hall of Fame by the summer. They're just going to skip over all the 5-year rule. Coach, again, being mindful of time. So at the very end, what we like to do is let our guests just bring out 1 or 2 points they want to crystallize, something positive to leave with people who are watching this or will later. Our point or our purpose is to find those opportunities from problems. What would you have to say today?
The one thing I have to say, there's always a positive. No matter what life throws at you, there's always a positive. I had somebody ask me, my thought about COVID, and COVID is bad, but COVID taught us to tell your family, to tell your friends that you love them more. We realize that with COVID, anything can happen. So, you know what? Tell people you love them. There's always a positive in every situation, no matter how bad your day is. The fact that you woke up that's the number one thing that can happen. You woke up. So You should be happy that you woke up. Just like I said, try to find ways to turn a negative into a positive. Stop worrying about what other people are doing. Worry about yourself. If you fix yourself, make yourself happy. That's all that matters. Because when you worry about other people, you letting that person control you when they don't even know they're controlling you.
That's right.
So whether it's sports, whether it's school, whether it's life in general, be positive, be happy, focus on you, and you'll be okay. And at the end, just be the best. Simple as that. Be the best.
We love it, Coach. We love that tagline. We love, your philosophy on that. I only wish you the best in your business and all the kids and everyone who comes through your facility. Certainly, very glad that my sister recognized that met you and we got to do this. I know it took a little bit, and that's fine. That's why we're here. But thank you so much for taking the time on Super Sunday, especially. I don't know what you got on the grill. I've got a brisket that I got to check on here in a minute. I'm
actually got to go train right now. I got some kids coming in to train.
That's awesome.
Right now. Then I have some other kids coming in at 3:00 to train. So to me, as long as the kids want to work, that's more important.
You want to work. That's awesome. Yes, we love where your mind is at, Coach. And I'll say the same thing my brother's saying. Thank you so much for being with us today. Man, I was getting a little emotional by your words because again, how we started the show. So my mom was a big fan of this day. She had to leave this world a little earlier than she had to, but I can almost feel her right here next to me because this day was special because it did bring the whole family together, and we still do, right? But I know she's seen looking at us talking to a former NFL, and we probably couldn't make her more prouder. But thank you so much for being with us today, and to our viewers, thank you guys for those of you that tuned in. We're at an hour and 4 minutes. Kind of felt like 15 minutes. Yeah, but it was great, man. I really loved today's podcast. Coach McClain. Hopefully, we'll chat another day. But thank you to all our viewers for being with us today.
Yep. So for my brother Jorge, this is problems,
and for my brother Javier, and opportunities. Enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes.